Thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about what we're doing at the workshop today. What I really plan to talk about is the whole issue of disclosure of management practices. That's the topic of the workshop. And really, the reason for disclosure is to empower consumers, to give them the meaningful information that they need so that they can make informed choices in the marketplace. And it's in every competitor's interest to provide customers with meaningful information about their services, about how they can expect their services to work, and about any things that might affect their use of the service. So, for example, practices that are used to minimize email spam are something that should be and are typically disclosed in a way that's understandable to consumers. Similarly, if there are things that affect the speed that they're going to get when they use their service, that should be disclosed and typically is disclosed. And a lot of those things that affect the speed and performance of their service are often outside of the control of the service provider, and yet it's still in our interest to disclose things that would affect it, like viruses or malware on your computer or other things that may be running, or any of the various things that affect performance. In addition, there are tools that consumers have at their disposal, both from the service providers as well as from third parties, that allow them to test the speeds of their service, to test security on their computers, to even test for possible interference by intermediaries on the internet. And so these are all publicly available tools that consumers can and do use. Similarly, there's no reason why a third-party group like a Consumer's Reports or something couldn't do comparative testing of the services and do actual performance testing and include that in the comparisons that they already do and publish on the broadband industry. All of the industry practices that are being developed or used by internet service providers are typically developed in a collaborative process by groups like the IETF. The best practices are shared among operators in groups like the North American Network Operators Group, or NANOG. And so there's a collaborative and open process, and really these groups are open for anybody really who is interested in participating. A similar process could be used to develop best practices regarding disclosure and especially around technical issues. So what are the best ways of disclosing these certain things? Today each company pretty much does it their own way, but it may be beneficial for a group to form that really looks at what's most meaningful to consumers and how best to convey that. And from time to time there are going to be disputes that arise around technical practices or around disclosure of those practices, and a collaborative group like this could be useful in resolving those disputes as well. Finally, like anywhere, there are always going to be the occasional bad actor who doesn't care about that and sort of flaunts the industry norms and or even law. And in those cases, the government does play a role as backstop. And it may not be the FCC that does it. It may be more appropriately the Justice Department or the courts if it's a dispute between two parties, or the FTC if it involves deceptive or unfair trade practices. But there is an appropriate role for government there as well. I think the most important thing, though, is that it's a highly dynamic environment. There's a lot of innovation and change going on, and everybody needs the flexibility to try new things and experiment and evolve practices as the internet evolves, and locking it in through a regulatory process is not going to be helpful in that regard.
All right, David, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much.